There are places on Earth where life exists only in the narrowest openings, where the air feels heavy, motionless, and wraps itself around the landscape like a vast sheet of heat. This is Death Valley, where temperatures reaching 56 degrees Celsius sink into the ground by day and slowly radiate back through the night, turning every road into a ribbon of fire. This is Dallol, a chemical workshop in the heart of Ethiopia. A place where the ground is no longer just earth, but a blazing field of sulfur, painted in lemon yellow and acid green. Hauntingly beautiful, yet carrying the harsh breath of hell itself. And this is Jacobabad, where humidity and heat push the human body to the final edge of endurance. Where the air no longer feels like something to breathe, but like a wet, burning cloth wrapped tightly around the skin. In these basins, lying deep below sea level, people do not conquer nature. They are simply learning how to survive, how to adapt, and how to wait for the rare, gentle breath of cool air that arrives with dawn. Death Valley sits in a long sunlit trough where the air often feels heavy and still. In Death Valley, California, United States, summer heat can linger well past sunset, settling into the basin like a warm blanket. At Furnace Creek, official readings have reached 134 degrees Fahrenheit, among the highest reliably measured on Earth. Dry air and clear skies allow the ground to absorb energy all day, then give it back slowly through the night. The valley's intensity is shaped by geography as much as weather. Moist Pacific air drops much of its rain on the Sierra Nevada and other ranges to the west, leaving the desert floor in a deep rain shadow. Even here, life finds narrow margins. Creosote bush and mesquite hold on near sparse water, and desert bighorn sheep move along rocky slopes where shade is brief and precious. Roads pass landscapes that look almost engineered. Alluvial fans spread like folded fabric, and dark volcanic rock absorbs the afternoon glare. In the cooler seasons, the same terrain can feel surprisingly gentle under a low winter sun. At Badwater Basin, the valley's most distinctive surface lies underfoot, an immense salt flat, 282 feet below sea level. Its pale crust breaks into sharp, geometric polygons that shimmer in the heat and crunch softly with each step. Dallol sits low in Ethiopia's Danakil Depression, where the land drops below sea level, and the air can stay punishingly hot for days at a time. Here in Dallol, Ethiopia, Africa, heat is not a season so much as a constant condition. The ground is a chemical workshop fed by geothermal fluids that push up through salt and clay. As the brines evaporate, they leave fragile crusts that crunch underfoot and rebuild again with the next seep. To the south and west, the Afar region holds other severe landscapes, including the salt flats around Lake Karum, also called Lake Assail. Long after sunrise, the glare off the white salt can make distance hard to judge. Up close, the place is defined by sulfur-stained terraces, neon yellows and pale greens layered like foam turned to stone. In the stillness, those brittle shelves are the signature of Dallol's heat made visible. Danakil Depression lies in Ethiopia's Afar region, a low basin where heat settles close to the ground and daylight feels unusually sharp. In Danakil Depression, Ethiopia, Africa, the terrain shifts between black lava, pale salt crust, and rust-colored ash, shaped by the East African Rift. Much of the travel route begins from Mekelle or Samira, then continues by convoy across rough tracks that can wash out after rare storms. Near the salt flats, Afar workers still cut rectangular blocks by hand, stacking them into neat white walls before loading them for the road. What lingers most is Dallol's mineral crust. Sulfur yellow, salt white, and acid green terraces laid out like a brittle mosaic, perfectly still under the heat. Flaming mountains sit along the northern edge of the Turpan Depression, where summer heat settles into the low basin and lingers. In Chinese records and local storytelling, this range has long been associated with relentless sun and drying winds. In Flaming Mountains, Xinjiang, China, the slopes are built from layered sandstone and clay, stained red by iron-rich minerals and stripped clean by erosion. From a distance, the ridges look scorched, and at midday, the air often shimmers above the rock. Nearby Turpan is one of China's best-known hot, arid cities, and the landscape around it shows how people adapted to dryness. Ancient Karez channels once carried groundwater from the foothills to vineyards and courtyards, creating thin lines of green against pale desert soils. Travel logistics are simple if you base yourself in Turpan, where small hotels and guest houses are easy to find. Getting connected is straightforward. Local SIMs are commonly available, and Wi-Fi is typical in lodging and many cafes. A short drive brings you to other sites in the Turpan Basin, including the earthen ruins of Jazan, where sun-baked walls merge with the color of the ground. Even in the shade of gullies, the heat stored in rock can feel close and persistent. What stays with you here is the banded red ridgeline itself. Hard, dry folds of sandstone that catch the light and hold it, as if the mountain surface were permanently warmed from within. Furnace Creek sits near the center of Death Valley, where heat settles into a broad basin and lingers for days. In Furnace Creek, California, United States, summer afternoons regularly push past 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This valley's shape matters. Mountains on both sides block moisture, and descending air warms as it compresses. The ground, pale with dust and salt, reflects light upward and adds to the strain on anyone outdoors. Weather instruments here helped document one of the best-known temperature extremes in the nation, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, recorded in 1913. Whether you focus on that number or on today's readings, the local pattern is consistent. Long stretches of dry, punishing heat. Just down the road, Badwater Basin dips far below sea level, a white expanse of salt that feels almost lunar under midday sun. At night, temperatures can drop sharply, and the same open air that bakes the valley floor can briefly feel thin and cool. Life and travel adapt to the clock here, favoring early hours, shade, and careful water planning. Park roads, trail signs, and ranger reports treat heat as the primary hazard, not an afterthought. And yet the defining detail is simple. A spring-fed ribbon of water that keeps Furnace Creek's palms and green patches alive, a small oasis held in place by flow that never quite stops. Jacobabad sits on Pakistan's Indus Plain, where summer heat settles in for weeks, and the nights offer little relief. In Jacobabad, Pakistan, Asia, the season is measured as much by air density as by temperature. By late spring and into the monsoon months, moisture from nearby river corridors can push humidity upward, turning ordinary heat into a heavier, more exhausting load. Meteorologists track these periods closely because the body cools less efficiently when the air is already wet. Farther south, in Sindh, cities like Dadu and Sibi also record punishing temperatures, with sun-baked streets and sparse midday shade. Along the coast, Karachi can feel cooler on paper, yet sticky sea air keeps discomfort lingering after sunset. In Balochistan, Turbat often ranks among Pakistan's hottest spots, shaped by arid winds and wide, open valleys. Eastward, the Thar Desert adds a different kind of heat, drier, dusty, and sharply radiant under clear skies. Jacobabad's daily routines adapt. Markets shift toward early hours. Water storage becomes practical infrastructure, and shade is treated like a resource. Even a short walk can feel longer when the air refuses to take in sweat. What sets Jacobabad apart is the rare but documented stretch when humid heat drives wet bulb temperatures toward the edge of human tolerance, making the air itself feel like warm, damp cloth against the skin. Riyadh sits on the nudged plateau, where summer afternoons often press past 45 degrees Celsius and the air feels sun-baked and still. In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Asia, daily routines quietly adjust to heat that shapes everything from street life to architecture. Midday light turns concrete and limestone almost white, and shaded walkways become the most valued real estate. Many errands shift toward early morning or after sunset, when a faint breeze can move across wide boulevards. At Masmak Fortress, thick walls and small openings show how older building methods managed glare and temperature with simple geometry. Nearby, Diriyaz at Turaif district preserves Najdi mud brick forms that once held coolness longer than the open air. The city's outskirts, desert drives reveal how quickly the planted neighborhoods give way to bare gravel plains. From the escarpment at Jebel Firain, the edge of the world looks out over immense, dry distance under a hard, unforgiving sky. Doha sits on a low peninsula where the desert meets a warm, shallow gulf, and summer heat settles in for months at a time. In Doha, Qatar, Asia, midday light can feel weighty, pushing most outdoor life toward early morning and late evening. Along the Corniche, the sea looks calm, but the air often carries humidity that blunts any cooling effect. Even short walks become a lesson in pace, seeking shade lines from palms, awnings, and the curve of nearby buildings. Souk Waqif, narrow passages and covered lanes create pockets of relief, with stone walls holding on to cooler temperatures. The scent of spices and grilling meat mixes with the dry dust that drifts in from the interior. Modern districts like Mashareb and West Bay rely on design and timing, reflective surfaces, shaded sidewalks, and indoor corridors that keep daily routines moving. Parks such as Aspire offer greenery, but even the grass reads as carefully maintained against the climate. Kuwait City sits on the edge of a shallow gulf, where summer heat builds early and lingers late into the evening. In Kuwait City, Kuwait, Asia, daytime temperatures regularly press past 45 degrees Celsius, and humidity can make the air feel heavier still. On Gulf Road, the Kuwait Towers stand over the waterfront like practical landmarks for navigating the city in bright haze. After sunset, locals drift toward the Corniche for a little breeze, while the pavement continues to release stored heat. In the old market of Souk al-Mubarakiyah, shaded lanes and thick walls soften the glare, and chilled drinks become part of daily routine. Even in a modern capital, these older design choices quietly explain how people have long adapted to extreme conditions. For travelers, getting connected is straightforward. Local SIMs are easy to pick up, and Wi-Fi is common in mid-range hotels and cafes. Plan errands for morning or late night, because the hottest hours can turn simple walks into a test of judgment. Jazan city sits on Saudi Arabia's Red Sea coast, where heat and humidity settle in early and linger into the night. In Jazan city, Saudi Arabia, Asia, summer afternoons can feel heavy, softened only by brief sea breezes. Even in the city streets, the light has a sharp, white edge, and shade becomes a practical form of architecture. Markets and small cafes time their busiest hours around the cooler margins of morning and evening. Along the waterfront, the Red Sea carries salt and warmth, and fishermen work close to shore as the tide shifts. Offshore, the Frasan Islands, part of Saudi Arabia's Jazan region, add a marine horizon of reefs and shallow lagoons. A short drive inland, the land tilts toward the Asha Highlands, and the air can change surprisingly fast with elevation. Some routes include narrow switchbacks and dangerous roads, especially after sudden rain. Getting connected is straightforward here. Local SIMs are easy to pick up, and Wi-Fi is common in modest hotels and neighborhood restaurants. If you're arriving by air, the airport area is also a simple place to arrange a ride and settle in. What stays most distinctive in Jazan is the mangrove-lined shoreline, where green roots stand in brackish water and carve quiet channels through the heat. Baghdad sits on a broad bend of the Tigris, where summer heat settles in and lingers well into the night. In Baghdad, Iraq, Asia, midday light can feel weighty, especially across open streets and pale concrete. By June and July, dry air and long hours of sun push daily life toward early mornings and late evenings. Courtyards, shaded arcades, and thick walls quietly show how people have adapted to warmth for generations. South toward Basra, humidity adds a different kind of pressure, turning heat into something sticky and persistent. Farther west in Anbar, the desert air runs drier, and the land looks bleached under relentless skies. In Najaf and Karbala, bright stone and wide plazas reflect sunlight back upward, making shade feel earned. Around Nasiriyah and Samawa, the flat plains offer few natural breaks from the sun until evening finally softens the horizon. Turpan Basin sits deep in China's northwest, where summer heat settles into the land and lingers. In Turpan Basin, Xinjiang, China, the air often feels dry enough to erase distance, turning roads and rooftops into wavering lines. Much of this depression lies below sea level, and that geography shapes everything from wind to water. Daylight can be relentless, yet nights may cool quickly, a desert rhythm that locals plan around. Along the edges, the flaming mountains hold sunlight on their red slopes, especially in the long afternoons. Nearby, the ancient earthen city of Jiaohe shows how people once used raised ground and thick walls to manage exposure. Agriculture survives here through careful engineering, not luck. In places like the Grape Valley outside Turpan, vines thrive under trellises and courtyard shade, with fruit dried in ventilated mud brick houses designed for steady airflow. Water is the quiet currency of the basin, drawn from distant mountain melt and guarded against evaporation. Wells and channels mark a long history of making the most of brief runoff in a place that rarely offers it freely. What sets Turpan apart is the Karez, underground tunnels that carry cold, clean water beneath the scorching ground, emerging only where it can be used. Kabylie sits on the southern edge of Tunisia, where summer heat can linger well past sunset, and the air often feels dry enough to sharpen every outline. In Kabylie, Tunisia, Africa, daily life adjusts to the sun with unhurried timing and careful shade. To the north and west, the Great Salt Pan of Chott el Djerid turns light into glare, a pale expanse that seems to stretch farther than it should. On the hottest days, distance shimmers, and familiar landmarks look briefly misplaced, like impossible places. Nearby desert routes lead toward dunes, where dunes begin to gather and wind reshapes them overnight, erasing tracks by morning. Farther on, the Sahara's open gravel plains hold heat in the ground. In Tozeur and the surrounding oases, irrigation channels and deep groundwater support date palms and small gardens, a thin line of cultivation against the desert's breadth. Even here, work is often done early, while the air is still cool enough to breathe easily. South of Kabylie, Matmata's troglodyte dwellings show another Tunisian answer to extreme temperatures using earth itself as insulation. Thick walls and sheltered courtyards keep interiors steadier than the open sun. What stays most distinctive in Kabylie is the oasis itself, a continuous canopy of date palms casting dense, practical shade with narrow paths beneath that feel noticeably cooler than the surrounding sand and salt. New Waisib feels like a quiet threshold in the far south of Kuwait, where a long highway cuts through open sand and glare. In New Waisib, Kuwait, Asia, the heat is not a momentary wave, but a steady condition that shapes the pace of everything. Summer afternoons across Kuwait can push into extreme temperatures, and the air here often turns powder dry under the Shamal winds. Even in the shoulder seasons, the sun's intensity reflects off pale ground and makes distances look shorter than they are. To the north, Kuwait City gathers modern shade in its towers, while out toward Mutla Ridge, the land lifts slightly and exposes wide, stony vistas. Along the coast near Al-Kiran and Al-Zur, humidity can add another layer to the warmth, especially when the wind goes still. For travelers, it's usually simplest to base yourself in Kuwait City or the resort areas and drive down, since services near New Waisib are limited. Getting a local SIM or eSIM is straightforward, and Wi-Fi is common in hotels and cafes. In the hottest months, the best time to linger outdoors is early morning, when light is softer and the horizon is sharper. By midday, the landscape turns minimalist. Road, sky, and the thin line of heat shimmer between them. What stays with New Waisib is the sabkha, a salt-crusted flatland that turns the ground chalky white, crunching lightly underfoot as it throws sunlight back into the air. Ouargla sits low in Algeria's northern Sahara, where summer afternoons often press past 45 degrees Celsius and the air feels dry enough to pull moisture from stone. In Ouargla, Algeria, Africa, heat is not an event, but a daily condition. The older quarters hold tight streets and high walls that keep sunlight off doorways for a few extra minutes each day. Even in shade, the ground radiates stored warmth long after sunset. Across Algeria, the desert's extremes show up in different forms, from the dark volcanic rock of the Hogga near Tamanrasset to the broad open flats around In Salah. Ouargla's heat arrives with fewer cliffs or peaks to interrupt the horizon. To the north, cities like Gardaya and El Oued share the same logic of survival: thick walls, controlled courtyards, careful timing, travelers trading notes on Haida Planet. Dangerous roads often mention how quickly distances here turn into hours under a hard sun. Markets slow at midday, then return in the late light when metal shutters cool enough to touch. The scent of dates and dust lingers, and the wind carries fine sand through any open seam. What defines Ouargla most is its oasis belt, dense date palms fed by groundwater, casting a narrow, reliable shade line against a wide field of glare. Tirat Tzvi rests in Israel's Jordan Valley, where summer air can feel heavy and still. In Tirat Tzvi, Israel, Asia, the landscape sits low and warm, shaped by long, bright days and scarce rainfall. Heat here is not an abstract number. It sets the pace of work, rest, and movement. Midday light flattens colors across the fields, and even distant hills look washed clean. Across Israel, the hottest zones often cluster in the Rift Valley and the desert south. The Dead Sea Basin and the Arava show the same dry intensity, with wide skies and little natural shade. In the Negev, stones hold warmth late into the evening, and wind can arrive like a heated breath. Farther south, near Eilat, the desert meets the Gulf of Aqaba under sun that feels close at hand. Travelers sometimes group these regions with other dangerous places, not because of their roads or towns, but because exposure can turn serious quickly. Water, shade, and timing matter as much as distance. Tirat Tzvi's most distinctive sight is its ordered belts of date palms, kept alive by irrigation in a valley that rarely cools. Under that green canopy, the air shifts, still hot, but softened by shade and water. Mecca sits in a basin of western Saudi Arabia, where summer heat gathers between rocky hills. In Mecca, Saudi Arabia, Asia, midday temperatures can press hard on stone, skin, and breath. The city's streets and passageways channel warm air that lingers long after sunset, while pale surfaces throw light back into the eyes. Even the quiet hours before dawn can feel unusually close and still. A short drive west, Jeddah's Red Sea humidity adds weight to the heat, and salty air clings to buildings near the waterfront. Inland again, the land turns drier and the sun seems sharper in the open. Southwest of Mecca, Taif's higher elevations offer a cooler contrast, with evening breezes that arrive sooner and linger longer. The change in temperature can be felt almost immediately as the road climbs. Back in Mecca, heat management becomes a daily craft. Shade lines, timed errands, and the steady search for moving air. Stone, asphalt, and crowds each shape how warmth is held and released. At the heart of the Grand Mosque, the Kaaba's black cloth covering stands in stark relief against the surrounding white marble, a single dark cube anchoring the bright, sunlit courtyard.